Welcome everyone, I'm AngloV the Polish guy, and today I will talk about using smart bombs to farm anomalies in EVE Online. To start off, I have to mention that I started using this method because of Johnny Pugh, who came up with it. I will talk about it with more detail though, but if you want to check the original video, it is linked in the description. To give you some sort of a context, the reason for smart bombing anomalies is a chance to get an escalation to a private DD complex from which you can get faction modules or blueprints worth tens or hundreds of millions. Since the chance of getting an escalation is really low, you have to finish a lot of anomalies to get one. Here comes the smart bombing part. Using smart bombs can help you with finishing the anomalies rapidly, sometimes faster than in a minute. You also don't have to target them, so this method isn't as tedious as fighting with other weapons. The fitting of the ship for it is quite simple. You basically need a battlecruiser with the most high slots that you can get. Fill them with medium smart bombs. Their damage type doesn't matter since the raw damage output will be enough to kill anything. Focusing it might help in some particular cases though. After that, get cavalry chargers in mid slots along with an afterburner to speed up movement and a shield extender for when you do a lot of sites in a row. In the lows, reactor control units get you enough power grid for the smart bombs, and capacitor flux coils help with how much cap they drain. Rigs are for cap again. As you can see, this ship is basically a bunch of smart bombs and cap equipment to support them. If you want to optimize the process of running sites, you could add some warp speed upgrades. The worst issue in farming DD sites by anomalies is actually finding a decent amount of them. My method for it is going to .lan, finding my region and showing systems by amount of jumps. The dead-end ones, with almost no jumps, will accumulate a lot of sites over time, since there isn't a lot of people running them. So, after you set out on your route, get your probe scanner up and don't forget to show anomalies. The only sites that can be easily smart bombed are refuges and hideaways. You need to choose what sites to run depending on the pirate faction in your space. Angel Cartel gets escalations to a 5 out of 10 DD site from refuges, Guristas get a 4 out of 10 from both refuges and hideaways, Sansha and Serpentis get a 3 out of 10 from both too. I'm not sure about other factions, so you will have to do some research. When getting to a site, remember to disable safety. Smart bombing counts as a PvP activity, even if you don't damage any players. Using them will also prevent you from using gates for a minute, but you won't get a suspect timer or anything of the sort. As for sites themselves, there are two variations of each. The first of the refuges is the most dangerous. The spawn point of the rats is almost at the warping point, so you might accidentally bomb someone who warps on top of you. Keep checking low range D-scan to not get surprised. To run the site, just get into the spawn point of rats and activate the bombs. If everything goes well, you will kill all the waves after a few cycles. Sometimes you will need to use drones for a single ship that gets out of range. To prevent that, you need to position yourself better initially. The next type of a refuge is way safer. Here, the spawn point is next to a tower that you need to get close to. To finish the site, you don't need to destroy the sentries, so don't worry about them being out of range. The hideaways are probably the safest to run, and I prefer them if I'm in space where they escalate. In here you need to use the afterburner, since the spawn point is quite far away from the point you warp into. The first variation with the radar might need some manual piloting around the structure to finish it easily. The hideaway with the bunker has a spawn point near the tower, so it's easier to do. So, for running the sites, that's pretty much it. Remember that their more difficult variations like Hidden, Forlorn and so on are vastly different and you can't really smart bomb them. One of the things you need to watch out for while running sites are the rare faction spawns that can drop valuable loot. They usually spawn as the last rat in the site, so look at the rec list to spot them. Sometimes I run the angel hideaways that don't get an escalation just for the sake of those spawns. One time I got loot worth around 50 millions from a rat in those sites. Most of the time they drop only ammo though. So, how does the escalation itself look like? How often you will get them is based on luck. This angel one I got after over 2 hours of running sites. Their location will show up in your journal under the expeditions tab. A great benefit of getting escalations like that is that they can spawn in high sec and are totally private, so no one will jump on you that easily. I run this angel Redlight District in a rattlesnake with a wormhole oriented feed that I'm testing. If you want a detailed description of how to run a DED site like this one, I linked a list of them in the description. The site took way longer than it normally would, mostly because of me focusing on testing rather than actually running the site. In the last pocket, you only really need to destroy whatever object or rat drops the loot. After that, bookmark it and warp off. The site will despawn and you can go back and collect your loot. In this case, what I got was worth around 150 million ISK. The Overseer's personal effects will always drop, so we will get at least 50 million from this site. To put things into perspective, to get my next escalation I had to run exactly one site. The Gurista Scout Outpost is a 4 out of 10 site that I can easily do in a Vexor Navy issue in around 10 minutes. The loot itself wasn't bad, but the effects don't give you that much ISK as with the Redlight District. So, from my experience of doing those sites for some time now, I think the Angel sites are worth it for more guaranteed loot of Overseer effects and sometimes B-type modules. Gurista on the other hand get escalations a lot easier since both hideaways and refuges lead to one, but only a 4 out of 10 that gets less loot. It's easier to run than a 5 out of 10 though. I don't have a recipe for the best efficiency here, so you will have to experiment. Remember that the loot may vary and nothing is guaranteed. Sometimes from a 3 out of 10 DD site you can get over 100 million, while other times a 5 out of 10 will barely give you 50. One thing that I can add is that smart bombing sunshine anomalies is more difficult. They fight at longer ranges, so that might be an issue. They also do EM damage that depletes the not upgraded shields way quicker. In the end, farming anomalies with smart bombs can be very lucrative. Remember that it's a risky thing to do. I already lost a ship to Concord because of an unfortunate warp-in, but if you are quick enough, most dangerous situations can be prevented. As always, this gun is really useful. Okay, so that's it for now. I don't know yet what my next video will be about, but I might explore some more wormholes. In the meantime, feel free to comment on what you want to see me cover. Remember to subscribe if you want to keep up with what videos I upload. For now, that's it from me. See you next time.